I'm Anna, the Yarn Randomizer, and this is episode 15. All right, and the usual preliminaries. You can find me on, this is a knitting podcast, maybe I should say that at the outset, and it's one centered around the fact that I pick yarns randomly out of my stash using a little bucket of chips, sort of like a lottery for my yarn. So I pick something, a couple of things, and that's what goes into my queue, and you can see all of that. You can see me on Ravelry as the Yarn Randomizer, and also on Instagram as original.annasender, and all of those links are below. So with the preliminaries out of the way, we'll get right down to it. And actually I have my notes right here. Oh, I was supposed to be wearing something, so let me grab it right now. All right, what I was supposed to be wearing, let me put this on. All right, this is my Zoral Shaw. All the information will be below, and I'm wearing it for a specific reason today, and you'll find out in a little bit about that. But this was knit in 2020, I think I did this, and I used, and it was the Yarn Randomizer project from 2020, and the yarn I think that got picked at that time was this junk yarn here in this color, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's Takmatone, one of the two, and I paired it with some Tosh sock in undergrowth. And I thought it paired really well together for this shawl. I've got some big tassels in the undergrowth, and these two colors just go really well together. You can see how the blue in the Takmatone picks up the colors in the undergrowth, and this is just a neat shawl. It's got some striped, where you got single row garter stripes in there along with the two solid areas, and it's got this really open edging on here because I think some yarn, I'm trying to remember if it's yarn over on every row or something like that, but everything as far as doing this is in my notes. And actually with this project I made it as big as I possibly could, because I made a spreadsheet that showed me how many stitches were in each color and at what point I'd be at the halfway point through using a yarn. And so I would compare that to how much yarn I used so I could make this as big as possible. So I made it as big as possible with the two skeins that I had. But I really like this, one of the shawls that I'm really happy with, and it's a good example of how you can use a spreadsheet to maximize how you use your yarn. So that's what I'm wearing. All right, so then next we'll be on to finished objects. All right, I wanted to bring it back for one last visit, is my little knit cat, little catnip toy that I'll be sending off to my sons. So the last time I showed this, it didn't have a face yet, but yeah, you can see how it's got these very flexible joints that I made on here. And I embroidered a little face on there, and so I just did some stitching for the nose, kind of free-handed this and the eyes. And actually I used these two yarns were yarns that actually came with this marled yarn as little minis to go with it. I actually have a pair of socks made with all of these as well, but this basically used up all of this marled yarn. But I think it turned out cute. I was talking about sewing down the corners to emphasize the ears, but I just figure, oh, they're just kind of curling up there anyway. I think it's close enough and stuff. I don't think the cats will have any complaints. So I'll get this sent off here soon so they can enjoy this. So it's his belly is full of a fabric bag of catnip. And the reason I do a fabric bag is because I figure with knitting the way it is, this guy would be leaking catnip like crazy if I didn't enclose it in a bag inside. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's a self-drafted pattern. I ran out of yarn to make the arms as long as I wanted, but all the details are on my page, my photograph of my original sketch and the spreadsheet that has the stitch counts and everything. So yeah, I'm really happy with how that guy turned out. I felt like I did a decent job doing the embroidery there. All right, next I'm going to take this one off and set it aside and show the other shawl that I've just finished. Now, Jimmy Bean's Wool, previous years they had an annual shawl, and this is the one that I've been working on for all of 2023. So each month I'd get 80 yards of yarn and it would go into this shawl. And so I finally got it just finished and blocked, and you can see it has turned out, it's really surprisingly big. And so it's a fade from these yellows all the way through some pinks and into some grays. And it's a very simple pattern. I was a little concerned about curling, but there doesn't seem to be a problem. I did not stretch it aggressively. I just blocked it, soaked it, and set it out. Let me peek over the top there. And I think it turned out really nice. I'm toying with the idea of putting tassels on the corner, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. And so when you wrap it around, there we go, I think. Yeah, do it like that. Zhuzh it up a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. So I think that turned out very nice. You can see that. Yeah, so it was really nice. Turned out really nice. And I've always enjoyed, I've been doing these annual shawls for a number of years now, and they have a shawl club for 2024 as well. I'll link it below. But the change this year is, instead of going over all 12 months and getting 80 yards of yarn per month, it'll be, I think, just 6 months. And they'll be sending a larger amount of yarn and stuff. So it only goes over the half year. I figure that'll be good if I want to do like the Stephen West shawl in October. That'll make it so I don't have another kind of shawl on the books or in process and everything. But yeah, I've always enjoyed these. This was with La Bien-Aimée. It was La Bien-Aimée Merino Singles that this was in, and just a really nice fade. And I'm really happy with it. So that turned out very nice, and I always have a lot of fun. And I think half the fun of participating in these shawl clubs like this is they have discussion groups on Facebook and on Ravelry, and it's really a lot of fun to see other people make progress and chat about the pattern and that kind of stuff, or people will do stuff that's different than what was planned and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of fun in the community, or kind of sharing in the activity, just like any knit along and stuff. So yeah, so that is the annual shawl, and it's done. So we'll see when the next one comes in. Now, next finished object, and I'm going to not pronounce this right, but these are the Tar Segel mitts, and let me double check about who does this pattern. I had meant to write that in my notes. There it is. I think Liz Cork. All right, so these turned out absolutely lovely. And so if you see from the shawl, you can see that I've used two of the colors in there, two of the same colors in there. So I used my leftovers of my junk yarn and also the leftovers of the Tosh undergrowth here. And then I didn't have quite enough to finish the mitts, and so I got some Wonderland yarn, some leftovers in my stash, in this Wonderland Cheshire Cat Plum Cake colorway in here, and it's all in the project page. And so these can be worn one of two ways, and I think it's kind of cool that it kind of goes with the shawl. So you can wear it so that you have most of this. This is what's called a crosshatch stitch. Let's see if I don't know if you can see the detail that well. I'll put a closer up picture and everything, but it produces a beautiful texture result and they have it extend all the way through the ribbing and beyond and stuff, and it surrounds the thumb as well, so they have it come up and around the thumb gusset. It just turned out so nice. So I put these on. I love having fingerless gloves like this for typing when I'm working in an office or something. And so, ta-da! Those turned out so nice. And let me put them on the other way so you can see how they look the other way. It was a very fast knit. It only took me as long as I did because I cast it on and did a little bit first and then set it aside while I got some other things done. But I finished this off very quickly once I went back to it. And I really enjoyed the pattern. It's well written, really nice construction details. You can see how it's really neat that there's an actual like gusset here of purl stitches that comes up and everything, and just a lot of detail. So here the crosshatch stitches are along the edge of the hand instead of all on top of the hand. So yeah, highly recommend the pattern. Really beautiful, fun to knit, and such a beautiful kind of stitch that just looks absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, just a neat detail. And the way that stitch works, I remember I said it wrong last time, is you have the 2 stitches, you slip the first one, knit the next one, yarn over, and then pull the slip stitch over the knit and yarn over together. So that's how you get that large, that kind of pronounced stitch going across there. But yeah, that was just so much fun to knit and really neat, really nice. So now I have matching mitts to go with my shawl. And if you're curious, I am wearing a sweatshirt from Nitty Natty's store, Knitrovert. I really like this sweatshirt because it's a lighter weight than some and has a nice close fitting hood. It's great for taking the dog out because I don't know if any of you have this, but I have hoods on sweatshirts and I pull them and it's like it covers your peripheral vision and everything. I like this one because it is not huge like it is with some. So it's a nice little sweatshirt. I'll link her shop below. All right, so that's it. So 3 finished objects. And now I'm going to go over the whips that I've been working on since last time. I do have some things that are kind of hovering, waiting for me to get back to them. But I'll show you what I've been working on. I have normally I only have one of each type of project on the needles. Right now I have multiple of some projects on the needles because of some decisions I made late last year. So my focus this first quarter of the year will be to kind of get it back down to kind of one of each type of knitting project on the needles. So to that end, I've been making progress on my When by the Lake, let me see, yes, this is the right way, When by the Lake sweater. So I had finished the entire body, and so the bottom is there. And so the main thing is I just need, and it's already got a collar, so I just have to finish these sleeves. So I've been making progress on the sleeves. And so I'll have the other one ready to go. But basically my focus, I'm hoping to finish this, my plan is to finish this one in January and get this one done and off the needles. But I'm really loving how this has turned out. It is, this is a yarn by Dream in Color called Lamb, and it's only available at Gauge, a yarn shop in Austin, Texas. And it's just such a wonderful yarn. It has such a nice, kind of, not fluffy, but kind of such a soft texture, a neat texture to it. I really like it. And I picked out a color of mohair that kind of picks up these browns that are in here. So I feel like it complements it really well. And so I'm going to bring it up in its little, yeah, you can see how that goes together. And so the result has been really nice. And the pattern has been, it's a similar to a ranunculus type pattern in that it's done in large needles. In this case, a circular yoke, there's no kind kind of raglan shaping down here at the end, you just end up splitting for the sleeves. But I think it turned out really nice. And so hopefully it'd be nice to be wearing this for the next episode. We'll see. That'll mean I have to get it done in 2 weeks. All right, so there's that one. Now, the next one is the, my Christmas Eve cast on, and that is my ranunculus and my second ever. And so it is, right now I am on the body on it, and this is going to be, hold your hats on the color there. So this is my Christmas Eve cast on, and this is with a Christmas Eve cast on box, a yarn that came from Hypnotic Yarns called Vintage, I think it's Vintage Ornaments, or yes, Vintage Ornaments. And I'm combining that with a very bright pink from Drops, their, was it silk mohair? Yeah, the Kid Silk, excuse me, their Kid Silk. And so I've made it partway down the body, so I've got a little ways to go. I'm probably going to try to get in total of 10 inches before the ribbing, and then 3 inches of ribbing at the bottom. And then with what's left, I'll divide what's left in half and then see how long I can get the sleeves and everything. But yeah, that just looks, love the look of that sweater, of that pattern. The ranunculus really is such a fun pattern to do, and this was very fast to do. I only set it aside to work on the other sweater and everything. So this is another one. As soon as I get that bottom done, it'll just be sleeves, and those won't, I doubt they'll be full sleeves because this is only with 2 skeins of fingering, and so it should be done pretty quick. So I think I'll get a couple of sweaters done relatively quickly in the first couple of months of the year, which will be really nice. All right, next. Oh yes. So I had talked about this last time. I've made a spreadsheet, and I've planned out doing the Slipstravaganza Blanket by Stephen West over the course of the entire year. And so I have to do something around 500 and something stitches a day to keep on track for that. And I have been keeping up. I'm finding it to be no problem to stay caught up on this. It takes, like about half an hour or something like that. And if I really focus on it, I'd probably get it done faster. But here is the result on that so far. So this is Stephen West's Slipstravaganza Blanket, and I'm doing the big size, the biggest size he has there. And so I've finished section 1, which is the center with garter in it, and I'm on to these slip stitch sections here, starting with the white and then this cotton candy, and the next one will be a color called cherry, and this brown is called coffee. And now all these colors are from Finished Knits. This is their DK weight yarn called, it's Lankava Maineo. I'm probably not pronouncing that correct, but I'm so excited about it. It's like every day it's really fun to knit on this because kind of what you're doing changes a little each day, and it's really neat to see it grow. Like this isn't just what, it's been 12 days now, and this is what I have after 12 days. Of course, that'll start changing as it gets bigger and bigger around, but it's been really cool to do. I'm really enjoying it. And I think this yarn will be a nice warm blanket for the middle room, and it'll look really cool. Yeah, so I think that's turning out just great. Yeah, highly recommend it. And it really makes, when I look at that blanket as a whole, it seems like a little overwhelming. But just setting this daily goal of this many stitches and having my spreadsheet to let me follow that and keep track really makes it totally manageable. I'm really psyched because I know at the end of the year, I'll have this huge, I think it's 86.5 inch diameter blanket, which will look really impressive in the guest room. It'll be really cool. So that's going along really well. And then finally, I figured for the first episode, I needed to cast on at least one of my yarn randomizer picks for the year. So I have cast on the first item. And I had talked about this last time. The yarn pick had been this Gentry Gray Peyton's Cory sock yarn. And so I decided to make, my favorite sock pattern is the Ringwood Socks. And I think it's Tess Young is the author. And it's a really neat pattern because they have toe up or top down, whatever your flavor. Either way, it's got a cool texture. But because it's such a nice pattern and does such a good job of keeping you from having holes around where the flap is, I like to use that pattern in general. So I'll knit it plain when I want to do a vanilla pair of socks. And so here is how my Cory socks are coming along. So here is the Gentry Gray in the toe. And I'll be doing it for the heel. It'll be a slip stitch heel, and then for the ribbing up top. And then this is another Cory yarn called Dad's Jacquard. And I've got each skein so it will start at the same point. So I'm going to be casting on the other one here soon and working up as well. But yeah, I love the contrast between the gray and the gold. And I think the colors are really neat on this Cory yarn. And so it does have at least this part I was able to figure it occurs regularly. I feel like these pinks and reds are a little more shifty as far as how precise the lines are. But I'm starting with the yellow before this, and we'll see how matchy-matchy the socks end up. But yeah, I think that ended up really nice. I actually started with the largest size, and then when I got up to the foot, it just seemed too wide to me. The Peyton's Cory yarn is a little more substantial, almost more, feels more sport weight to me than fingering, and so it ends up being a little plumper when knit up. And so I dropped back down to the medium size on these socks to do this. And so yeah, so those are just moving right along. And this is I also did this because I needed portable knitting. So this goes with me wherever I go, so I can just work on it wherever I happen to be. And so I love how those are looking, really neat. All right, so that's that, and that's all the works in progress. All right, now acquisitions. And for anybody who was here last time, you might remember that I've instituted a rule I did in 2022 as far as stash management. And that is I have to have twice the yardage going out as comes in. Now, I am a subscriber to Bare Naked Wool's Barn Box, and so that comes out every other month, I believe. And so I got this month's Barn Box in the mail today. So if you're a subscriber and you don't want to be spoiled, you might want to look away. But I don't know how many other folks here watching are on these, but I'm going to bring this up now. All right, so this was the yarn for the month. And it's really not about the colorway or anything like that, since it's Bare Naked Wool's, these undyed yarns, although sometimes they dye yarns, most of the time they don't. And this one, the unique feature of these yarns is what they're made of. And so in this case, this is 93% polypay wool with 7% merino. And these are non-superwash. And I wish you could, this feels so nice. I really love it. This natural colorway is called Icicle. And it's a worsted weight yarn. And they do their skeins in 4-ounce skeins. So this has 275 yards of worsted weight yarn. So this will go into my stash. It'll get assigned a number and become part of the knitting lottery. And I'll figure out. But I'm thinking maybe a hat. Maybe I want to do something with cables in it, I think, to really show off a beautiful texture, but I'll think about that. But I really like it, and I love the way it feels. So 275 yards came in. So that means I have to have at least 550 go out. Now, the only project I've finished so far is the mitts, which were only, let's see, I have it in my tracking. That was just 148 yards. So I need to get rid of about 402 yards of yarn. And I actually have, I think I have a candidate skein to destash. Now, I'm not going to show it this time. I'm going to get it out and kind of prep and think about how I want to do this. But I believe next episode, what I'll do is I'll show what ends up coming out of destash, what has to be destashed. And so I will bring that. And if you're interested in it, we'll find a way to communicate that. We have to avoid words like giveaway in text in the stuff below and everything, but we'll find a way to do it and everything. So, but you can anticipate that for next time. I will have a yarn to destash, a full skein of fingering, most likely, and I'll show that next time so you can get a look at it and see if you're interested in it. And when I say destash, I mean destash. I'm just giving it away, and I will send it out to somebody. We'll do it randomly if multiple people are interested, and we'll figure it out. So that's something I kind of have to plan for a little bit. All right, so that was the only acquisition. And so we talked about the stash management. And so next are the next random yarn picks. So you saw me, I've gotten started on number 1. Number 2 is a cowl. It's a worsted weight yarn I'm going to use for a cowl. So now Yarn Randomizer pick number 3 for the year. For this one, it's a leftover yarn, and it might be familiar. I'm trying to think if I ended up going over this previously. Let's take a look really quick. This was done, yes, it was done last year in, August. So it would have been part of the things covered in the episodes. And so this originally was project number 18, random project number 18 from last year. And I've got about 50 yards left over. And you know, this has such a nice feel. This is alpaca. You can feel it's alpaca. And what I'm thinking is, this would make a really nice, if you've ever felted alpaca, and I've had the misfortune of felting a shawl that was made of alpaca, it produces a very nice dense fabric. And I'm thinking that I can do something like use like a dishcloth pattern, you know, on the bias, use half of it on the way up and then half back, you know, use the other half to bring it back down to a square, and then put that through the washer and the dryer to kind of turn it into a really good kind of heat mat for the kitchen or something. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. And there's an interesting pattern called Hot Pad from Hot Out of the Oven. It's from Knit Picks, but they have, I'll put a link below for the pattern set, but it's a whole set of different kitchen items that are felted after you knit them. And so I like the look of it, and so I'm thinking that I may do that with this. We'll see how that turns out. Could do something else. Again, subject to change. Always keep that in mind, as I can change my mind about it, but right now that's what I'm thinking with this. So that's number 3 for the year. It's Inca Signs Sathiri. I have no idea where you can get this. I bought this single ball off a shelf in Cusco in Peru when I was visiting down there. So that's it. So that's what that's going to be. And then the next random pick is random pick number 4. And so what got picked was a full skein of this Elevate Fiber Arts. And I think this dyer is out of California. And the really neat thing is hand dyed in a California national forest. It has there. And it says here that every skein supports a national forest. And is there any other? Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, 50 cents of every skein goes to a national forest to support national forests, which is really cool. And I really like this blue. This is their deluxe sock, which is 85 merino, 15 nylon. It's 400 yards, so a kind of a plumper sock yarn, and it is the color Wonderland Blue. Now, for this one, I was thinking there was a pattern I was wanting to use late in the year last year that I didn't get around to, and it's called the Mini Noah by Fiona Goberstein. Goberstein. I have to check about that. German pronunciation says Stein, but I'm not sure if she pronounces it that way. But so I think what it is her pattern is similar to the Sophie scarf, but it's got some slip stitch detail that looks really nice. And I think this is a consistent enough tonal that you'll be able to see that slip stitch detail really nicely. So that's what I'm tempted with right now, is to make a little scarf. The other possibility is I've kind of gotten a little obsessed by balaclavas. So I've looked at a bunch of patterns, and I've looked at a fingering balaclava pattern that basically uses a whole skein of yarn. The trick was that the pattern wasn't available to purchase separately. You had to purchase it with the yarn, and the cost of the yarn plus the cost of shipping. The shipping was really high, like 15 bucks. And I'm thinking, shipping one skein, oh man, that's practically half the cost of the skein. So I'm hoping eventually it'll become available, but it was really neat. I'll link the pattern below for that and everything, and because it looks neat. It looked like a really interesting fingering weight balaclava. So that's another possibility. But so it'll either a little Sophie scarf, something, not socks. This one I'm not going to do socks with. So not that I have any, obviously I don't have anything against socks, but I just want to do something different with this. All right. So that is that, and those are the randoms. So that's basically it. So that covers everything that's going on. The only other thing I want to talk about, and I will put in maybe a link to it or something like that. I'm keeping a diary for knitting this year, and it's going to have the same format every month, and I've got it set here. So upon coming into the month, I just list the number of whips that I have. I also added another thing, my finishing basket. So I don't know about you guys, but I have a basket that holds my things that are off the needles, but they just need weaving in and blocking and stuff. And those accumulate sometimes. So right now there are 4 projects that are sitting in my my basket, my kind of, what would you call it? Not purgatory. They're kind of in limbo. They're kind of, those projects are finished, but they're not done, so to speak. And so, so the goal would be to kind of not put, that number. I want that to come down. See if we can get that number to come down. At the beginning of the month, I'll say about how many items are in my queue, and then I'll keep track of what my yarn budget is. So I started the yarn budget at the beginning of the year with 0. I had 0 yards to spend to buy new yarn, and so I'll capture that at the beginning of each month, and then at the end of each month, I'll document how much yarn was used and how much yarn went out. So basically we'll see how the balance sheet looks and what the budget will be. So kind of how much came in and how much went out. And then I'll talk about how many projects, I'll keep track of how many projects were started and finished. And in between those 2 measurements, I'll have like dates where, I finished this on this date, started that on that date, this arrived on this date, and that kind of stuff. So it'll be like an annual diary of kind of what's going on. So it'll keep track of how I'm doing. And the goal is to maintain my yarn budgeting this year. And again, I can buy yarn, but I have to pay the price. And that price is either in using yardage up or destashing. And then I want to get my finishing basket emptier. Completely empty would be great, and make some good progress on projects this year. So that's it for me. And I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up and like and subscribe. And I'm trying to come back consistently every couple of weeks. I have some other videos. I've got stash videos recorded up through my DK yarn. I've been a lazy bum and haven't gotten those out yet, so I need to get those out soon. And there'll be other random picks. I'll continue to put those up as shorts. And I think I have a couple other things that I have in the works as well. But outside that, I hope you're enjoying the heck out of your knitting. I sure am. It's doing things this way really keeps my knitting mojo kind of at the peak by doing these kind of randomizer projects and having fun with this. So I hope you're having fun too. And in the meantime, enjoy your knits.